So now I want to take you back to the handout. Take you back the handout. Yeah, now let's be here. Now let's be here. And kindly make sure you go through those theories I sent. So remember we said that we have the direct quote and we have the indirect quote. And we said that indirect quotes for direct quote, and then we have indirect quote. For direct quote, we said that the foreign currency is the commodity. Foreign currency is the commodity. For the indirect quote, the home currency is the commodity. Now let's start with the direct quote. In this case, for example, if you're told that $1 is equals to 104 Kenyan shillings, that's a direct quote. In Kenya, this is the home currency, this is the foreign currency. So this is the commodity. That means you require 104 units of Kenyan shillings for you to acquire $1. Now that's what we call a direct quote. So first of all, you have to determine which is the home currency. Now, indirect quote, for the indirect quote, we have said that the home currency is the commodity. For example, 1 Kenyan shillings is equals to maybe 30 Tanzanian shillings. In this case, that means you require that Tanzanian shillings for you to acquire just 1 unit of Kenyan shillings. So direct quote, the foreign currency. So you don't have to cram them, just get the direct quote. If you get the direct quote, you don't have to know the indirect quote. Direct quote, 101 or 104 Kenyan shillings is equals to $1. So unajua that's direct. So indirect is the vice versa. Then we have what we call the bid, and we have what we call the ask price. Now, assuming you are in possession of $100, then you want to change this amount into Kenyan shillings. You approach the bank. So if you approach to the bank will buy the US dollars for them to give you Kenyan shillings. They'll give you, or they use what we call the bid price. If you want to exchange the US dollars, for you to get the Kenyan shillings, the bank will use what we call the bid price. Now, assuming you have the Kenyan shillings, you want to go to the bank to buy US dollars. Now you are buying from the bank. So you want to buy from the bank. So that means the bank will sell to you at the ask price. So bid price, let me take you back. If the bank, they are buying your currency, if you have the currency, the bank will buy at bid price, which is always the lowest. Then, if you are the one buying, the bank will sell to you. That's what you call the ask price. They'll sell to you at a higher price. Can you get that? Bid price is always the lowest. Ask price is always the highest, because the bank, they are there to make the profit. So to bid, if you take the amount for them to exchange, they'll exchange at the lowest rate for them. But if you want to buy, they'll sell to you at the highest rate. This is what I mean. Sometimes you may get this rate. The motive of giving you the difference between the two rates is that, for example, you may be given that $1, then you are given 104.23, then 104.44. That $1 is equals to 104.23 into 104.44. So kindly, I want you to post. I want to know the bid price, the bid and the ask. So in this case, I just need the bid price. Which will be the bid price? Is it 104.23 or 104.44? Just type there. I need to know the bid price. The bid price. Will it be 104.23 or 104.44? Yeah, that's correct. I can see. Yeah, it's 104.23. The bank will always buy. So the bid price is always the list. And then this one is the ask price. So you need to get that. So in some question, it will have some question like will give you a certain illustration. And then I've given there. So there we have the method you use now when you are hedging. Now when you are hedging. So don't cram this. So there is a kind B I have indicated there. Whenever you have the indirect quote, whenever you have the direct quote, it will be referring to this. So we have said that in direct quote, the home currency is the commodity. But for the direct quote, the foreign exchange is the commodity. Now, after you have differentiated between a direct and direct quote, you will be determining, are we paying or are we receiving? Like the one we have been doing for hedging payment and hedging receipts. Hedging payment, hedging receipts. So whenever you are paying, assuming the quote is an indirect quote, and you are paying, use the bid price. But if you are receiving and the quote was indirect, use the receipt. Now, for the direct quotes, if you are making the payment and the quote was direct, if you are paying, like you're hedging the payment, you pay using the ask price, the highest. If the quote is direct quote and you are the one receiving, that means you are hedging the receipts, use the bid. So that's something, you can either get it or you cram it. For the indirect quote, remember when you are paying and when you are receiving, the rate to use. So that means you should not be confused. So I think that should be the end of today's class. Though I won't take another like 20. Last time we were doing the derivatives and we looked at Bracken's course. We never looked at binomial model. So just on a quick mode, I want us to go through the binomial model of valuation, the binomial valuation model. Binomial valuation model. I had already sent the material. Materials. So, for those who attended the last class, that was on Monday. We are looking at option pricing model. And number one, we said that we have two methods you can use. Number one was the Bracken's course. Number two was the binomial model. So we never got a chance to go through binomial models, though some students sent me an assignment that I had already given for binomial model. So that means they were able to follow. So at a binomial model, this model is based on assumption that there are only two prices that will emerge at the expiry date of the option. If I take you back to the Bracken's course, for the Bracken's course, we say that I'll use that model when the values take a continuous change rather than the two values, a continuous change. But for binomial, it will always assume, this model is based on the assumption that there are only two prices that will emerge at an expiry date. That means it can either go up or it can either go down. What are the steps forward? Number one, you need to compute what we call the option delta. You compute the option delta of the option, and this is how you compute the option delta. You take the changes in the option value, you divide by the changes in share price. Changes in option value over changes in share price. How do we get the option value? In this case, you use the value of the call. And remember, I said that the value of the call, it's max, market price per share minus exercise price. You get that. That's how you get the value of the call. Then after you get the value of the call, then you compute the changes in the option value, you divide by the changes in the share price. Then number two, you determine the value of the portfolio. You determine the value of the portfolio. In that case, you take the market price per share. Now, in this case, between the two prices, you take the higher, but I'll come to explain that. Then step number three, you determine the present value of the portfolio. You determine the present value of the portfolio. Then lastly, you determine the present value of the option portfolio. I know nothing you are studying there, but they are just steps. So now let's do an illustration so that it can make some sense to you. Let's do May 2014 question 4D. May 2014 question 4D. May 2014 question 4D. So we are told that a stock is currently selling at 36. In the next 6 months, so that means our T is 6 months, the stock price will either increase to 42 or decrease to 31. So in that case, we'll be having two prices. The risk-free rate is 4% per annum. But remember T, it's 6 months. Required, calculate the current price of the call option on the above stock if the term to expiry is 6 months and the strike price is 35. So the examiner will not tell you to use binomial model. Like for Black and Score, they were telling you, but for binomial, they will not give you. So how can you differentiate between a Black and Score and binomial? For binomial, we have said that it assumes there will exist only two prices at the end. And in this case, we are told that it can either increase to 42 or decrease to that one. The risk-free rate is 4% per annum. Then we are told that the strike price, or what we call the exercise price, is 35. So how do we calculate that? So step number one, remember step number one, we have said that you need to compute or you determine the option delta. You determine the option delta. This will get the option delta. The option delta, you take the changes in option value, you divide by the changes in the share price. Changes in the option value, you divide by changes in share price. How do we get the option value? We have said that the value of the call, you take the market price per share minus the exercise or the strike price, 0. So in this case, we are told that the market price can increase either to 42 or it can go down to 31. Those were the two market prices. It can either go to the 42 or go down to that one. That's the market price per share. Then you raise the exercise price. We are told that the strike price is 35. 35. So 42 minus 35, that means you get 7. That one minus 35, you get a negative. That's why you have this 0. If you get a negative, remember I said that you write a 0. So now let's go back. Change in option value. We have two values. The value of the call is either 7 or 0. So it will be 7 minus 0. That's the changes in option value. You divide by change in share price. The share price is 42 or that one. So 42 minus that one. Or you can just do this. 7 minus 0, you get 7. 42 minus that one, you get 11. So you take 7 divided by 11. That's what I'm doing here. 7 minus 0 divided by 42 minus that one. And by doing that, what you get there, the option delta will be 0.6364. That's the first step. Step number two, you are supposed to determine the value of the portfolio. Determine value of the portfolio. Now this how you get. Remember we said that you take, now between the two prices, we had 42 and we have that one. You take the highest price. That means you cannot exercise when it's that one because you'll get a 0, but 42 you'll get something. So in this case, use 42. So you take 42, you take the market price, 42 and that one, you select the highest. Then you multiply by the option delta, what you have gotten here, which is 0.6364. After you get that, then you deduct. 42 was giving you the value of 7. You take the market price times the option delta, you minus the value of the call, and it had given you a value of 7. That means you will remain with a residual value or the market value of 19.72. That's the second step. Let's go to the third step. The third step, you're supposed to determine the value you determine the present value of portfolio. How do you get the present value? In this case, step number 2, you already have the value of the portfolio. You have the value of the portfolio. Now we need to get the present value. This is how you get the present value. You take the value of the portfolio times E raised to power RT. So you already have the value here, which was 19.72 times E, the exponential, which was 2.7183. If you use a calculator, raised to power negative. The risk-free rate was 4%. The risk-free rate was 4%. So it will be negative 0.04 times T. Time was 6 months. So that means you multiply by 0.5. So it's 19.72, the value of the portfolio. Now you're getting its present value. So it's 19.72 times E, the exponential. This one is from the calculator. Yeah. You press shift, then you have E in the natural log, you'll get E. So it's 2.7183 raised to power negative 0.04 times 0.5. So now when you're dealing with this, just kind type 2.7183 raised to power, you open the bracket first. Negative 0.04 times 0.5, close the bracket, equals. Then you multiply by 19.72. By doing so, you'll be getting 19.33. Then the last step, you are supposed to determine the present value of option portfolio. You determine the present value of option portfolio. Now, in this case, this is what you usually do. You take the actual market price. You multiply by the option delta. Then you minus what you have gotten in step number 3. You minus present value of option portfolio. So the actual market price from the question, we have been told that a stock is currently selling for 36. So that is the actual market price. So you take 36, you multiply by the option delta. What we have gotten in step number 1, the option delta was 0.6364. Then you minus the present value of option portfolio, what we have gotten in step number 3, which was 19.33. And by doing so, you'll be getting a value of 3.58. 3.58.